Welcome back to the coverage of YCS London, the largest YCS of this year thus far. We are now at round 3 and we have another feature match for you. Once again, I'm Oliver Gurman and I'm joined by Matthew Bell.
Hey there, everybody. How are you doing today?
In round 3, we got Tomasz Allen on the left-hand side of your screen in just a second. And on the right-hand side, we got Nathen Sergent. We picked this match because of the help of our judges that were looking through, well, 1,000 deck lists.
Yeah.
And they dug out that Nathen was running Gravekeepers this weekend.
Yeah, which we thought was interesting. I know a lot of you guys are here just to watch the Shaddoll and Burning Abyss smash against each other, but you got a chance to do that in the later rounds. We predict they're going to do well, so you're going to see those features later on. So we want to take the opportunity to show you some of the other stuff that's in contention, maybe something that slips through.
We talked about Rogue Deck earlier, especially this early in a format. It's just not even a month since the new limited and restricted list has been established, so there's still lots of room for innovation.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got because the format's much shorter now, you've got more opportunity to constantly keep trying out these different hidden rogue strategies, and it could pay off real big here for Nathen.
Right. So speaking of Nathen, who's sitting on the right, as you can see, he's playing, like we said, he's running Gravekeepers. Anything super special about his deck? You pointed out the Malefic Cyber End Dragon.
Yeah, the Malefic Cyber End Dragon is something I'll be interested to see if that works out against a Shaddoll deck that has a Shaddoll Dragon that can take out the Necro Valley, and alongside it the Malefic Cyber End will destroy itself. Although the Necro Valley does shut down half of Tomas's engine because he's playing the Black Dragon Collapse Serpent and White Dragon Wyver Buster, Black Buster Soldier, Double Chaos Sorcerer, Eclipse Wyvern, and Dark Arm Dragon. All of those cards not so great when Necro Valley's around.
Yes. Speaking of the White Dragon Wyver Buster, he has it in his opening hand, and we don't have Nathen's hand just yet.
It's a Pot of Duality revealing
there we go.
Book of Moon, Necro Valley, and Imperial Tombs of the Necro Valley as well. And then that Necro Valley's going to put some work in.
Yeah, he definitely wants to have that card. Most important, or one of the most important cards in his deck, definitely.
Yeah, he's got a lot of ways of searching through to get to the Necro Valley. And he's going to make sure that he has that before he gets anything else. That's the highest priority. Right.
So here's his hand. As you can see, Necro Valley, which will get activated in just a second. I'm pretty certain of that. He's got a Gravekeeper's Descendant. That is also one of the legacy content cards, right?
Yeah, that was a card that was introduced a while ago. Forgive me, I don't remember exactly which set it appeared in, but Gravekeepers have been out for quite a long time before some new Gravekeepers came along, and the Descendant brought some real life to the deck, giving the deck ways to destroy its opponent's cards without attacking.
Yes. Something it was definitely missing before that.
Yeah, I mean, the Gravekeeper deck originally had Gravekeeper's Spy, which we saw very, very popular many years ago for supporting the Monarch engine, way back when. Right. So we'll see how the new, well, I'd say new, but Gravekeeper's Descendant's been out for quite a while.
So magically, all the cards in Nathen's hand disappeared and they moved to the table. And his opponent, Tomasz, who probably hasn't seen Necro Valley in a little while, had to read the field spell card.
I would hate this. It's like Gravekeeper set a bunch of cards and you go, oh.
In case you are no longer familiar with Necro Valley, it stops graveyard effects, or basically cards that would move a card in the graveyard. It got a new card text, and this is one of the newer card texts that really did the trick, that made it a lot easier to understand compared to before.
Yeah, Necro Valley is actually the most complicated field spell ever printed, I believe. And that bottomless trap hole is not gonna do anything. Or was that destroyed by a card effect, or did he...
there was a Shaddoll Fusion being played by Tomasz.
Yeah, I believe he sent Shaddoll Hedgehog and Squamata and Shaddoll Dragon in the end.
This is the one thing we're missing. We don't have the cards in the graveyard on our app, but at some point we might add those. Although it's a lot of work for the volunteers that have to operate the iPads next to the players and put in all the card names.
Yeah, we had a talk about it, and it's quite complicated to keep managing the graveyard, especially when it moves around so much.
Yeah. The graveyard is no longer what it used to be. There was a time in this game when a card was sent to the graveyard, you would not be seeing it again. There was like a 1 in 40 chance that somebody would find a Monster Reborn, and that was their one chance to bring it back.
Yeah.
And then slowly but steadily it changed.
The Graveyard became a resource, in fact, a way of fueling many of your other cards over time.
Yeah, and we have seen decks like the Dragon Rulers that they don't need a hand. They are perfectly happy with having 20 cards in their graveyard instead of 5 cards in hand. And they are even more dangerous this way. So Tomasz is going for...
Arcanite Magician.
Synchro Summon.
Yeah, he's going to be able to blow away his opponent's cards. I really feel like that bottomless trap hole being used was such a huge mistake from Nathen. He must have not understood how the card was going to resolve. I mean, I didn't see a card played that would have destroyed otherwise. It really looks like Nathen tried to use a bottomless trap hole against a window which can't be destroyed by card effects.
He basically just handed his opponent an extra card, or like he took one of his own cards away.
Well, yeah, and he made the Shaddoll Dragon be able to take out one of the other cards instead of the bottomless trap hole. So he just gave his opponent free information about the contents of his deck and a free card. Which, if I'm playing, I'm going to be like, if you give me cards, I'll take them. You know.
So Tomasz also plays without cards in his hand. He sets Vanity's Emptiness and Sinister Shadow Games, passes play, and Nathen doesn't need long. He doesn't have a lot of options because that's the card he drew. He set right away, and it was a Gravekeeper's Recruiter.
That will let him search for his deck, but I feel like he's lost so much in this early game, especially to that Arcanite Magician.
It's just the second turn, and Tomasz has already pulled ahead quite a bit.
Yeah, like Nathen has just his Mystical Space Typhoon and the Gravekeeper's Recruiter on the field. He's essentially ran himself out of cards as early as turn 2, and Tomasz is just getting started with his Shaddoll combos.
Yeah, with the engine really going now, yeah. Both of these players are currently sitting on a 2-0 record, so they have won their first 2 rounds. So either this is really going unlucky for Nathen, or another chance, something we mentioned earlier, with so many players in competition that you just run against other rogue decks that you wouldn't expect usually.
Yeah, and perhaps Gravekeeper has an advantage over that because Imperial Tombs of the Necro Valley and the Necro Valley itself are very good against a lot of decks.
Yeah. Right, so the Recruiter fetches Nathen a new Gravekeeper.
Gravekeeper's Commandant, which will let him search for a Necro Valley if he discards it from his hand.
Which is not what he wants to... I'm not sure if he wants to have another Necro Valley at this point.
Well, he hasn't got one now because
so
it got destroyed.
He goes for that, yes.
Yeah, but I'm not entirely sure, looking at his main deck list, what he could use here.
So he's here, the cards in his hand. We got the Gravekeeper's Nobleman, which he now set, and the Necro Valley, which is now also on the table once again. He doesn't like to play with cards in his hand, it seems.
Oh no, Nathen must have been an Infernity player in some lifetime. It's just like, no, we're gonna do this off the top of the deck.
Right. So back to Tomasz, who has 2 monsters on the field. The before mentioned Arcanite Magician that took away the first field spell card.
It's a Foolish Burial coming down for Tomasz. Tomasz is going to briefly check his graveyard to consider his options, because with all the Shaddoll effects that will trigger from sending it, he needs to think. I mean, at worst, he can just send Shaddoll Beast, draw a card.
Yeah. But he's got all the options here. So he goes with a Hedgehog.
Yep, and he'll search himself a Shaddoll Beast.
Right, so Foolish Burial. When it first came out, it was like a card that just meant that you lost the card, but now you can gain an advantage from it, from the Shaddoll effects that allow you to, well, add a card to your hand, draw a card, destroy something, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's become like a key that opens your toolbox.
It's a spell card that says do any number of things.
Yeah.
Choose one of the following.
Yeah.
Without actually writing that on the card.
Right, so a Gravekeeper Spy for Nathen on the field gets special summoned in face-down defense position. It now has a very heavy 2,500 def.
That's going to be very hard for Tomasz to to get over.
Yeah.
2,500 is, well, as we saw with Dante, is huge.
Yeah, yeah. So he flip summons it, which allows him to add another Gravekeeper from his deck to your field.
Gravekeeper's Descendant again.
And we've just seen he did draw into Malefic Cyber End Dragon. This is the one card in his hand.
I'm interested to see how this plays out, especially how vulnerable it is against that that Necro. Sorry, the field spell being destroyed.
Yeah.
It can put out a huge amount of damage, but it's a special summon monster that Construct runs over, and if Shaddoll Dragon destroys a Necro Valley.
Right. And here it is, and it attacks over Tomasz's lonely monster.
Yeah,
the White Dragon Viperbuster.
Yeah.
And that is also a card you might be familiar with, because it's one of the possible like combo pieces that you can put in the Shaddoll engine.
Yeah, it's just another one of those cards that you can keep a constant flow of pressure coming on. Although he's not going to be able to use it as long as that Necro Valley is in play. That's going to prevent him from banishing cards from his graveyard. So the Necro Valley actually shutting down this part of the engine. I can't see, what cards does Tomasz have in his hand?
So he did have the Black Dragon Collapse Serpent, and he did draw into another Viperbuster, it appears, because he set that card.
Oh, that's brutal, because the Malefic Cyber End is capable of closing this game out in just 2 attacks.
Yes.
So the longer he gets hung up on, as long as Tomasz is hung up on being locked out by the Necro Valley, Nathen is going to be just chomping his life points out.
Yes. So it appears that the Gravekeeper strategy, the very unique take on the Gravekeeper strategy, is working out pretty well right here.
I'm genuinely surprised from this rough early start that this is working out, but Nathen has managed to claw back in, and he's keeping calm, and he's playing in. I think that's going to leave, if these 2 attacks succeeded, would leave Tomasz on 200 life points.
And so he gets to banish Blackluster Dragon, which doesn't help Blackluster Dragon.
Well, it's Dark Arm Dragon.
Dark Arm Dragon, Blackluster Dragon.
You know what?
This card isn't out yet, huh?
We could make one. You know, just so that comment made sense.
Yeah.
Not confirmed, guys. Don't worry about that.
Not yet. Not yet. All right.
There's Necro Valley number 3 also.
So suddenly, the thing is, Nathan's deck, it doesn't seem to need that much, but as long as he can keep the Malefic Cyber End Dragon on the field, and with the Descendant, he's got a way to get rid of anything his opponent throws in his way.
Yeah, and it's, as long as Tomasz is stuck being unable to play half of these cards,
yep.
The Descendant's just cleaning up, and the Malefic is doing the work.
Right. So he did draw for his turn, and he did find something at Charge of the Light Brigade, activating it right away, sending 3 cards to the graveyard, and then he gets to search his deck, in this case, for Lila.
Yes, Lila, which will be able to take out the Necro Valley.
Yeah. That is.
And this is the exact situation I was talking about, where I wondered if the...
So it's a 2-for-1 for Tomasz. Welcome invitation. He accepts that invitation, of course.
Again, this is what I was worried about at the start, but it's a 2-for-1 that's now put Tomasz in a position where he can now play all of his cards, because the Necro Valley is a high priority target for him to take out in order to play his game.
Yep.
Nathen loses his chance of winning right there alongside his field spell. He has another copy of the field spell in his hand, but on its own, it doesn't do anything.
What do you think of the splash of Lila and the Charge of the Light Brigade in the Shaddoll deck?
It's interesting. I mean, Patrick Holman in the US, when he won a YCS, he played the Lightsworn engine very heavily in his Shaddoll build, but he was also playing things like Free Soul Charge as well. And the Lightsworn build really worked out for him. So I can't knock it. I believe it's very good. It triggers effects when they send cards to the graveyard, and they're light monsters, so they support all the chaos side of Tomasz's deck.
Right. So Nathen drew into a Book of Moon, and he set that face down, so that is his sole protection from Tomasz's field at this point in time. Tomasz, on the other hand, he just keeps the pressure coming, and like closing the gap between both players.
Yep.
Let's see. Nathen drew a card and set it right away, so that's another spell or trap card. It is an Imperial Tombs of Necro Valley.
Okay, so yeah, Lila's just going to snipe away the 3rd Necro Valley. And I think Nathan's in a I think Nathen's out of this game now.
Well, it seemed like he could almost turn it around and steal the win, basically. But once Tomasz found the charge of the Light Brigade, that allowed him to search his deck for Lila and take out the Necro Valley, which in turn took out the Malefic Cyber End Dragon. He was sitting in a pretty good position, but this is another of these situations where one card made all the difference.
Yeah, Nathen had a very, very small window of opportunity to win the duel. He was unable to close it out, and here he is now struggling to draw anything.
Yep, and he finds, that is a Stele, Gravekeeper Stele.
Yeah, he's in the danger zone. He's got 600 life points. I don't know if there's a Gagaga Cowboy in Tomas's extra deck. No, he doesn't play Cowboy, so he can't he can't Cowboy for game.
So no easy way out. The Stele allows you to bring 2 Gravekeeper monsters back to your hand. So very easy card that allows you to gain some card advantage. And as we just learned, Tomasz cannot finish the game in an easy way. So Nathen has to rely on his, well, Gravekeeper Spy that he just said. And
well, there's a Raiden.
he's got the Descendant still in hand.
Yes.
But that doesn't really help him. I mean, there's so much pressure on the field.
Yeah, and there's even the Raiden is a tuner as well, so there's an opportunity for a synchro, a level 8 synchro monster.
Yeah. So Tomasz really checks his options really quickly. Now he knows, okay, there's pretty much nothing my opponent can do at this point, or I don't expect him to have anything. He goes for the synchro summon.
Is that Stardust Dragon? It's a Ghost Rare, so...
it is a very shiny card.
Yeah.
It looks like a, yeah.
It's a holographic rare for if you've not seen one before. It's not just somebody went home early on a Friday night and Konami and said, hey, we'll just leave this one white. It's fine. There is an image in there.
Right, yeah, now we could see it when he moved the card. Attacks, there's a Book of Moon. That is one of the few really, really good answers to a Stardust Dragon.
Buys him a turn because that Gravekeeper's Spy has 2,000 defense. It's way bigger than either of those dragons.
Yep, and you don't want to attack into it either, because you're just triggering the effect and speeding up the deck of Nathen. At the same time, there's a chance that he would just draw into a card that he would otherwise special summon from his deck. So you really don't want to attack here. Yep. And well, with just 600 life points on the other hand, flipping the Spy is also...
Vanity's Emptiness.
Ah, that's Vanity's Emptiness. So that is shutting down the effect of Spy. He can now not search his card, search his deck for another Gravekeeper to special summon it. Here comes the Descendant.
That's difficult for Nathen. I mean, he can take out the Stardust Dragon while it's face down. That will also take out the Vanity's Emptiness, but his Descendant does not have enough attack points to get over the Black Serpent, I believe. The Black Serpent's 1,600 attack.
Let's bring it up for you. That is 1,800.
1,800, okay,
yeah.
so yeah.
So pretty good position for Tomasz to be in.
He can Exi summon.
But do you want to exit summon first before you do something else?
Well, he can't. The Vanity's Emptiness is going to prevent him from special, so he's going to have to... The only way I think he can get that off the field, looking at his cards, is he's going to have to tribute his Gravekeeper Servant to destroy one of the cards, which will then cause Vanity's Emptiness to blow itself up, but then he doesn't have anything to Exi summon with to follow that play up.
That seems like a pretty tough situation to be in. So the one card we haven't seen yet is the Imperial Tombs of Necro Valley, I think.
Yeah, you can only use it if you control the Necro Valley, is one of the key things with this card. It's incredibly powerful counter trap when you can use it. You can negate just about everything.
Yeah.
But
so it's like a Solemn Judgment, basically.
Yeah, that doesn't cost you half your life points. But with all 3 Necro Valleys in the graveyard, I don't see how Nathen's ever going to trigger this trap. It's just sitting there to soak up some of the spell and trap removal that Tomasz is playing, or make Tomasz think twice about making a heavy push.
Yep. Now, like you said, very powerful card, but it does have its drawback. Half your life points when you have 600 is not a big deal.
Yeah, you know, I remember the days when it was like, can you pay if you only have 1 life point left?
Yeah.
That was the actual question. It was like, when will that ever come up?
Yeah, very unlikely. Okay, so, well, no surprise here. Tomasz takes away the first game. Pretty commanding.
Yeah, I agree. It got a bit hairy in the middle when that Malefic Cyber End created the 2-turn clock
Yes.
against Tomasz. But Tomasz was able to just get out of that in time and then just carry on winning. I mean, that was Nathen throwing his last cards in, really, for that.
Yeah. So let's again look at the side decks that both of these players brought to the table. So Nathen, with his Gravekeeper deck, has lots of options here. He's got Dark Bribes in his side deck. That's also a card we haven't seen in a while.
Yeah, Dark Bribe, negate the activation of a spell or trap card, destroy it, and your opponent draws a card. You don't particularly care if you're giving your opponent a card if what you're negating is like the key spell in your opponent's deck. It's actually good against things like Necro Valley if you really don't need your opponent to resolve that field spell. I'm not sure. I mean, he could use it against Shaddoll Fusion, but I'm not entirely sure if that's worth it. He's got Double Deck Devastation Virus in his side deck. Soul Drain, which we're likely to see come in against Shaddoll.
Yes.
Dimensional Fissure, he might bring that in.
What about the Light Imprisoning Mirror? I mean, that would have been a good answer against Lila.
Yeah, I don't know if he'll do that. I mean, it'll be interesting. He doesn't actually... Well, he can't play Shadow Imprisoning Mirror because Nathen's playing all Dark Monsters himself. He's got a Gravekeeper Shaman. I can't actually remember what the Shaman does. I believe it's one where you can... it might be the Gravekeeper's monster you contribute X number of monsters for. Up to 3. I think that's who it is.
Let's look that up, because we got perfect information here. One of the advantages for us. So not only do we have all the cards during the games, we can also look them up in between the games. So it's a 6-star monster, 1,500 attack and death, and it gains 200 death for each Gravekeeper monster in your graveyard. It negates all monster effects that activate in the graveyard except Gravekeeper's monsters. And while Necro Valley is on the field, your opponent cannot activate field spell cards. Also, field spell cards cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects.
That's very interesting. It's a shame that you can only tribute Set. He can't tribute someone in defense mode, but it's a huge wall of a monster, especially if it's a normal Set. Your opponent's El Shaddoll Construct is not going to be able to just smash through that as it would a normal special summoned monster. And in the meantime, it has a bunch of other things that it stops from happening.
Yeah.
Like all the Shaddoll monster effects.
What about Tomasz? He's got 3 copies of Puppet Plant.
Puppet Plant, I believe, is the one that allows you to take control of a spellcaster on a warrior, I believe. There is a cycle of the Puppet Plant.
Yeah.
And it's always trying to remember which combo is which.
It's a warrior spellcaster.
Warrior spellcaster, yeah.
So, well, since all the Gravekeepers are spellcasters,
Yep.
That might actually be seeing play here. It might not be that bad.
No, it seems very good, especially when the Shaddoll Falco can help make Arcanite Magician, although all of the Gravekeepers are level 4, so you're only going to get to 6 on that. But being able to Puppet Plant, take your opponent's cards away, it's very good. He's got 2 Vanity's Fiend. Vanity's Fiend could be good because it stops the Gravekeeper's spies from activating, but at the same time it can't destroy a Gravekeeper spy that's in defense mode with Necro Valley on the field. There's a Gore's Emissary of Darkness. Mind Control, again, something that can take away the spy and you can flip it up to stop him getting the stop Nathen getting the effect.
Raigeki once again in the side deck rather than the main deck.
This is a matchup
Something
where
we've
it's
seen
worth
before,
bringing in, I believe. There's 2 Mystical Space Fiends as well, and Rivalry of Warlords.
So both players already sitting down for the second game, and they have drawn into their hands. We have the contents of their hands. We start with Tomasz, who has a Lila again, Forbidden Lands, one of the Puppet Plants, Shaddoll Squamata, and Shaddoll Fusion. Nathen, on the other hand, we are still waiting for the contents of his hand or field, but this is a Necro Valley, definitely. Here's his hand. We got it. So he most likely set a Book of Moon in the compulsory, because you cannot set the Necro Valley in that zone. And he's got a Malefic Cyber End Dragon, but he didn't special summon it right away, which seems to be the correct play, assuming that your opponent, if he has something to get rid of your Necro Valley, this is going to be the time.
Yeah, and here we're seeing Lila being forcing the activation of compulsory evacuation device from Tomasz. This is just a bad place to be. Oh, and then there's the Forbidden Lands.
Ooh, that is a very big play for Tomasz.
it's going to let him to clean up that Necro Valley right here, right now.
But since Nathen had a second copy of Necro Valley in his hand, was it correct to activate it, to chain right away?
It's interesting how he chose to do that, because it was Tomasz. He could have played. No, actually, I'm thinking when he's getting absolutely nothing out of it by giving information. He didn't have any cards that really interacted with the Necro Valley, and at that early in the game, maybe running that one out there was just asking for the Lila to come out. Perhaps he didn't consider the.
Well, it was followed up by a Shaddoll fusion, using one Shaddoll monster from his hand and the Lila on the field, which allows Tomasz to fusion summon.
There was an issue there.
We just. Oh yes, it seems like the game got rewinded a little bit.
He had a Shaddoll Squamata and a Lila, so he did have a Shaddoll monster and a light monster. I don't know what happened there.
Yeah, also why the Book of Moon is still in the graveyard, but the Lila is still face up. So, okay, I'm not sure what happened here, to be honest.
Okay, perhaps some of you guys in the comments will point it out and we'll learn something, but...
yeah, it just seemed like it just got... that they just re-wound the situation.
Yeah, that might have been an illegal play there that I'm not spotting right now, but...
Okay. Well, in any way, Nathen drew into Imperial Tombs of Necro Valley. He does have the Necro Valley on the field, which is important, but he still needs a Gravekeeper.
Was there a pot duality played by Tomasz, actually? Let me check. Does he have that card? No. Okay, never mind. Let's just move.
All right, so the Malefic Cyber End Dragon is coming down and attacking over the Lila. There's a charge of the Light Brigade that that Tomasz drew, and that will allow him to search his deck for. Does he have a second Lila?
Yes, he does. He plays 2 Lilas and he plays 3 Rhydons as well.
All right. Well, that seems like a very good choice, at least in this particular matchup. So now he's got that.
Yep, and we're going to see that 2 for 1 again.
Yeah, we're seeing the same move that we've seen in the first game. That's a little bit of deja vu here.
And more cards being sent to the graveyard during Tomasz Allen's end phase.
Yes. And his hand is stacked with answers, isn't it?
Yeah, he's got... Is that triple Shaddoll Fusion?
Yes, it's a triple Shaddoll Fusion and a Puppet Plant.
Okay, so he can't actually use the Shaddoll Fusion yet because he doesn't have...
Yeah, but like, it seems like as soon as Nathen goes for something, for anything... I mean, Gravekeepers don't really rely that much on the extra deck, but if he would... Tomasz had all the answers here.
Yeah, if Nathen is forced to commit to that extra deck, he's it's not going to work out well for him.
Yep. So here's Nathen's hand. It's a Necro Valley, another copy, just in case the first one gets destroyed. Well, it did get destroyed by Lila, so he can activate that. Does that. Now he has a Dimensional Fissure. Activates that, but there is like 0 pressure coming from him.
Yeah, his only monster was the Malefic Cyber End, and it just destroyed 1 Lila, only for another one to show up, and 2 for 1.
Yeah, and that doesn't seem that surprising. That is something that you would expect to see quite often, don't you?
Yeah, well, that's something I was concerned about coming into this match. I wasn't convinced that it was the Malefic was going to be the best play for her, the best card for Nathen to play, but then saying that, it almost got in game 1 when he was that far behind, so we'll see what happens over the course of the tournament.
Right. So he also drew into Black Luster Soldier Envoy at the beginning, not to be confused with Black Cyber Dragon.
Hey, look, it's that original card that stopped Black Luster Soldier from destroying you when you could play all of the Chaos monsters. It's Necro Valley, still doing its job.
Yeah. Like
14 years later. Wait, I don't know when it originally came out. Legacy of Darkness.
What I'm not sure about is why would you play the second Necro Valley when your opponent has a Lila on the field that can activate its effect again?
He's got Imperial Tombs to the Necro Valley face down, so when his opponent does try and do the Lila, he'll more than certainly...
Oh no, he just lost it.
Oh. Oh no, he... I don't know.
Okay.
You know, I'd like to come up with a smart answer for this, but I got nothing.
It seems pretty hard. Do the Tombs of Necro Valley also need a Gravekeeper?
Potentially, if we pull the card text up, is that what I'm missing?
I think that was it. We have a little bit of a delay. Here we go. But he both a Gravekeeper's monster and Necrovalley.
That'll be why, yeah.
So he couldn't do that.
Because his spy was face down. Okay, then.
Yeah, but interesting. I mean, then it just says, okay, please use Lila again, doesn't it?
Yeah, Lila being the MVP for this round. So much so that Nathen summons Commandant and says, you know what, I've had enough of this Lila nonsense. And attacks into it. But there's a Blackluster Soldier looking awfully shiny and ready to start swinging.
Yep.
For huge amounts of damage.
So here, that is just the field of Tomasz. He also has 4 more cards in his hand, which are still 3 copies of Shaddoll Fusion, Puppet Plant, and he also drew into a Raiden, Hand of the Lightsworn. So he does have all the answers here, doesn't he?
Yeah, he certainly does.
What I don't quite understand is why the Blackluster Soldier came down and did it not banish the monster on Nathen's side of the field?
Yeah, I think he's been using it. He used it to banish. He banished the Gravekeeper's spy. I think he might have banished the Commandant and switched to defense because he's worried about the face down card. Because he actually has no follow-up plays as long as Nathen doesn't play an Exi or otherwise monster.
Yep.
Sorry, for some reason I was just drawing a blank at any kind of extra deck monster. It's like, what are they? I know the colors.
So there's a second Puppet Plant for Tomasz. Something you don't want to draw, I think. I think 1 is fine.
Yeah. Tomasz choosing to... Did he... I think he attacked that turn? I saw the life points have changed. Yep.
Yes. So Nathen is now down to a meager 2,000. And he just sets a monster, which is a Gravekeeper's Descendant, I think. His 1 card in his hand that remains is another Malefic Cyber End Dragon. So the Cyber End Dragon's really not putting in a lot of work for him this game and the first game.
And here we're seeing Regeki.
Ooh, there it is. And Blackluster Soldier attacks for game.
Yep.
Nathen does not have anything, and he extends the hand. That is the handshake, indicating that Tomasz just won 2-0. So, well, judging from these games, it didn't quite look like Gravekeeper got what it takes to dismantle Shaddoll.
Yeah, I mean, the field spell is very vulnerable in this strategy, and it's something that you need to hold on to keep control of the game.
Yes.
And with the Lightsworns being mixed in, Tomasz had the answers on normal summons to deal with the Necrovalley. That's not even counting any spells or traps he had. Like, he must have sided in his Mystical Space Typhoons and whatever to deal with that. And there's also Shaddoll Dragon, if he gets sent to the graveyard, can also destroy.
So it seems like a questionable choice.
It's a choice that just didn't play out. I think he might have needed to consider building his deck differently. For example, Malefic Cyber End feels way too
vulnerable.
Yeah, way too vulnerable for what it is. I mean, it is a huge monster, but
I mean, it almost worked the first game.
It
almost worked the first game. It was very close, and it depended on Tomasz's next draw, and he did find the right answer in a charge of the Light Brigade, which in turn got him the Lidar that would solve his problem right there. Well, I don't know. Maybe other players who are building the Shaddoll deck in a different way will have more troubles with this.
Yep. I mean, but even then, Tomasz had his deck built in a way that half of his monsters was not usable when Necrovalley was face up, but that didn't stop him at all. He never really...
Yep.
Apart from that one situation, he didn't really seem like he was out of control of that game.
Yeah. So, well, Gravekeeper's not doing that well. We have, on the other hand, 1 million stats right here. That's like 3 pages of stats just with deck lists. So we do have a complete...
Is this a complete breakdown?
Yes, this is the complete breakdown for this weekend. Number 1 deck, no surprise there. You want to guess it?
Shaddoll.
Ooh, you're close. It's yes, it is Shaddoll.
I was looking at this.
306 copies. So roughly 1/4 of the field.
Yeah,
is Shaddoll. Burning Abyss. We can't quite say in close pursuit, but putting in some numbers as well with 153 copies.
I found that surprising. I expected Burning Abyss to, after Forbidden Limitless, go actually up in number and Shaddoll to come down. So I expect that to be a little bit closer.
Do you think that will change after this event?
Depends on the result.
Yeah, depending on the top 32, I guess. All right. Number 3 deck, Tellarknights. And something we highlighted in Madrid, all of these 3 decks are Duelist Alliance.
Yep.
So this set has really made a big impact on the competitive scene.
When you've looked at the past, year or so, you've had Murmels, Gearga, Firefists, and lots of these decks. floating around on the competitive scene, and now Duelist Alliance has shook things up pretty hard.
Speaking of Mermail, I know for a fact that there are quite a few players that think that Mermail is still a very hot competitor. We don't see them putting up strong numbers this weekend.
Yeah, I don't know. With Mermail, I'm not entirely sure I'd feel comfortable like signing up with a Mermail list in the format when I think, yeah, I do have access to all these really, really good combos, but so does Shaddoll, so does Burning Abyss, and in Burning Abyss I get to play the best discard traps. Shaddoll, I get to play the fusion spell, which is borderline cheating.
Yeah.
That's how good that card is. I don't know. I wouldn't feel comfortable coming in with Mermail, but then, you know.
It's really good against Burning Abyss, and it's really good against Tellarknights. It's something that I learned last weekend.
Yeah?
Yeah. Just Shaddoll is the one issue that Mermail has.
Yeah, which when it's like the biggest part of the field,
deck,
it's...
Well, maybe Mermail is just missing one more piece, and or some player is missing one card that could pull the deck over.
Yeah,
again.
I mean, if you guys figure it out, maybe you can put Mermails back on the top tables.
It is not the Eye that you mentioned earlier.
No, the Eye of Truth. I don't know if that's the right deck.
Probably not, no.
Because I don't think Mermails is a timing attack deck where you're going to go all in at some point.
But even when we count those together, and Shaddoll, Burning Abyss, and Tellarknights, we just have half of the field. And the other half is like plenty of different decks. We got Light Sworn, we got Prophecy, Evil Swarm, lots of other decks. We have other, like several times listed here. Bujin decks, Yang Sing decks, Girgia, Mermail. So you can see there's a lot going on here. There's lots of room for innovation.
Yeah, that's like any number of these players could be doing really well.
Yeah. So we know for a fact that there are some successful players running with other rogue archetypes. We have Harpies, somewhat close to the top. We got a Tech Genus deck. At least they were doing well earlier today. We will check their records before we decide on our round 3 feature.
Yeah, actually,
one
of our volunteers was talking about the TG deck. Plays no XE monsters, it just plays the synchros, and his goal was to summon Red Nova Dragon and just have it have 8,000 attack. It was just like 8 tuners in the graveyard.
It sounds like lots of fun, but is it competitive?
He hadn't lost a duel. He hadn't lost a duel at the end of last round.
Okay.
From what I've heard. So we'll maybe catch up with him a little bit later.
Right.
If he's still in the running. But I thought that was just an interesting goal to having. Oh, I'm just going to make a dragon.
I just want to make a dragon with 8,000 attack. It seems like as good a goal as any, to be honest.
Yeah, if I was going to commit to a dragon, though, it'd be shooting Quasar Dragon because it does everything, as we established yesterday.
All right. Well, what else do we have this weekend? Like we said, second YCS of the season, just after the World Championship, one season, in case you're wondering. World Championship for us marks the start and the end of the season.
Yeah, that's the way we talk about it. We say, okay, so it's the end of the 2014 season. We're entering the 2015 season.
Yep.
All your regionals are now qualifying you into the European Championships 2015, and then eventually the World Championships.
Yes. So amazing World Championship we had this year in Rimini. We also have live features from there, which you can revisit if you want. Everything is up on, I think, Twitch and YouTube, that's so you even get to choose. And of course, we got YCS Madrid with the same streaming technology that we first introduced at the European Championship earlier this year. So you can also revisit all the matches from YCS Madrid if you want to. And, well, now it's the 4th time we're doing the stream. And we will also have an archive at the end of the event.
Yeah,
so
you
can revisit and see how Gravekeepers are faring against the Shaddoll deck.
Yeah, that's... of all the matches this weekend, I don't know if I'm going to go back to this particular one to watch a few times, because that was pretty one-sided. But, yeah, maybe later on we'll find another Gravekeeper player. There's 9 of them in the tournament.
Right.
That's still holding their own.
Well, if you want to see something unique, my guess would be you want to check out the first round match from YCS Madrid, where we had a Monarch player, Nadir Babo, going up against Shaddoll.
It was Shaddoll, yeah.
It was Shaddoll. And the Monarch deck just pulled out all the stops in that game.
I think
there was a situation where we said he's dead on board. There's like nothing he can draw. And then he finds, what does he find? A Battle Fader?
A Battle Fader and an enemy controller, yeah.
And then after the Battle Fader, an enemy controller from the top. Suddenly he steals an opposing monster, can tribute it, follows the Blackluster Soldier, attacks twice with it, and steals the victory.
And then tributes it.
Yeah. That was
the comment that summed that up from the Twitch chat. That enemy controller.
Yeah, pretty much. Right. So we do have a screen graphic for you. So rather than me telling you which decks we have, how many times, we do have a screen graphic for you with the complete metagame breakdown, which we're going to show to you in just a second. So this is the work of PJ, if I'm not all too mistaken. With it's not a pie chart. It is a.
He loves his graphs.
Yeah,
you know, even in the office, and he's describing things. He just comes out with a graph.
If an article starts with time for a stat attack,
Attack of the Giant stat.
yes, you can expect that to be from PJ. So it seems we have some minor technical difficulties. We almost had that graph up, but
it does exist. We're not inventing this. We have a graph, and we'll show you as soon as we can.
Right. So that is going to be next. Then we got more exciting content in between the matches. You have already seen us talking about the Gear deck, the Gear structure deck. And it was a very popular feature I have seen in the Twitch chat.
Yes. It was something fun. It's a starting point, really, for you guys to take it and run away with it. I saw a question, why not Exciton Knight? And the answer was because I always intend to have more cards than my opponent.
Pretty obvious.
Or committing quite heavily to the field with my back row cards. So it's like, I figured it wouldn't be so good.
Yes.
That and I had a chance to put in a Dark Rebellion Dragon or an Exeter Knight, and I was just like, I'm going to put the new card in.
You also have to keep in mind, when your record reads something like 3 times top 8 competitor of a Yu-Gi-Oh! Championship Series, structure decks are not really for you. Like, I don't want to say don't buy them, because they are amazing products, but they are for players that are just getting into the game, want to have a head start on their friends who also just got in the game.
Yeah, although saying that, the Gravekeeper's deck, it was a case of just buy 3 of these top 4 of YCS.
That is true, yes.
My understanding. I mean, you can do it, but again, the structure deck on its own is probably not going to win you a YCS.
Not quite.
If you're expecting to beat like Alpay Engin or someone like this.
It needs some little bit of tweaking.
Yeah.
But we do have other exciting products coming up soon.
Yes, we have the Noble Knight box set. That's coming out. I expect to see Noble Knights on the competitive scene. They've seen a bit of play here and there, but
every once in a while. It's very interesting, because players don't seem to be talking about the deck that much. But every once in a while, I come across a player and he says, "Oh, I came absolutely prepared for this tournament, and then I had to play against Noble Knights, and I had 0 chance to turn this around because the deck is so unique and has so many answers."
Oh yeah, the problem I think people get hung up on is the normal summon aspect of the deck. Because if your normal summon gets countered, you're in trouble, and you're also got consistency issues of getting the armed and getting the Noble Knight to do that with. But when you get it going, if you figure out the consistency, it's so powerful, and you can play it with a new counter trap card coming out in the new challengers, Solemn Scolding. That was the name if no one knew what it is, and if you hate it, sorry. That is a card that your deck can support 3 copies of, which can negate everything. The condition is that you don't have any face-down spells or traps.
Well, speaking of cool card names, we got one very special card name for you right here.
It's the mascot.
It is the mascot, yeah. We're just going to have this for the rest of the day. It is a German exclusive card, the German translation of Santa Claus, not to be confused with Santa Claus. I don't know if the pronunciation gets that across.
Close enough.
Yeah, okay. So the German card name is Weihnachtsunterweltler.
Weihnachtsunterweltler.
Unterweltler. Yeah, Unterweltler is fiend.
Okay, we're getting there. I'm getting there. I lived in Germany.
Yep.
And I still don't speak German, but
it is the Christmas fiend. But we do now have, speaking of Christmas, here's a present for you guys. Here's the metagame breakdown. as a nice chart. And it's going up in just a second, I promise.
Awkward moment of silence when you're waiting for the technology to do everything you need it to.
All right. So as you can see, or as you probably cannot see, I'm not 100% sure, to be honest. I see it on the other screen. It is live.
It's
Good.
live? Okay.
Yeah. Excellent. So you can see it now. We got Shaddoll, #1, big lead. Exactly twice as many copies as Burning Abyss, the #2 deck, with 306. And then we got Burning Abyss with 153. And in close pursuit, like we said before, Till Night, Lightsworn, Prophecy, Evil Swarm, and Gear Fire Fist. I mean, you can see that for yourself, but this might look at first a little bit one-sided, but that very, very big graph at the very bottom is other decks. That means these are plenty of different archetypes that we simply couldn't sum up, and among them are Koaki Mairu, Medolce, which we've seen earlier today, Agent, Exodia, we do have an Exodia player, or 5 Exodia players in fact, Constellar, Ghost Trick, Gravekeepers, we've just seen those, and so on. The list goes on forever and ever. So, like we said, lots of room for innovation.
Yeah, there's definitely still room. We'll see if any of those decks come out on top. There is a Musical Mischief Makers deck, or the Raccoon deck, as most people remember it as.
We would definitely like to see those, wouldn't we?
I really like the Raccoon deck. It can do some really ridiculous things very early in a duel.
Yeah. All right. So, of course, we will have a feature of round 4, which is about to start. I don't want to say soon, because sometimes it takes a little while in between rounds. That is because we have so many players that Scorekeeper just needs some time to enter all of those results. And also there are some matches that go to time, end up in overtime, and then it just takes a little bit, I don't know, 5 more minutes to resolve that particular match.
If you want rounds to go faster, if you're attending a YCS and, you know, some of these things finish late, just play faster.
Yeah, that is.
If everybody did that, the events would go faster.
Yeah. One of the advantages of the Gigia archetype. Gigia is such a fast deck that usually you don't really go to time with that one.
It depends. If you get out of that early game, then you can just push forward. If you just play Lightsworn, if you just want a game that's like either I deck out or I win.
Yeah.
You know.
That's also you're putting the clock on yourself.
Yeah, you're just like I've got a good 15 minutes. All right, let's have a match.
Right. Also, we will have some of the veterans of the game, some of the most successful European players that have made the trip to London, and we're going to talk to them in between rounds. We're also going to feature them on our feature match. So you're going to see, for example, Federico Sopini, one of the most successful players. He hasn't won an event yet. In that regard, he's a little bit like Joshua Schmidt prior to YCS Madrid.
Yeah.
And he made it to the top 4, I think, 3 times already. And also at very different events like the European Championship and the YCS.
Yeah.
Which, you can compare them, but it's still a different playing field.
Yeah, it's a little bit different, but at the same time, you're still playing X number of rounds, and it's done in Swiss format.
Yeah, there are a lot of similarities between those two.
I feel like the pressure is in different places. I mean, with a YCS, you really want to win.
Yeah.
With the European Championships, you just want to get to top 4. Really.
Right. Okay. The next video we are going to show you is a feature on all the prizes that you can win at a YCS. In case you've never been here, there is a lot on the line apart from fame and glory, and those are the prizes that we're going to introduce to you in between rounds. Stay tuned for that.